Well, good morning, everyone, and good morning to you on Zoom. I'm glad to have you here this morning, and I just want to say welcome to everyone. This is Unity of Charlotte, and I am Reverend Lisa Herklotz. I co-minister with Reverend Jim Ernstsen, who you will be hearing from for our message this morning. And we want you to know that Unity of Charlotte is a place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And to put this simply, that means we're here to love, to grow, and to serve. So if you're here for the first time, we would love to know that. So if you wouldn't mind just raising your hand and letting us know. Great, wonderful. So nice to have you here. Welcome, welcome. If you're on Zoom for the first time, maybe put something in the chat and let people know who you are and where you came from. And we would love to reach out to you with a packet. If you didn't get one, you will. There's a welcome packet that has information about Unity. If you're online, you can request that through Unity, admin at unityofcharlotte.org. We're just delighted to have you here, and we want everyone to know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome at Unity of Charlotte. Also, to make a note that we have a website and a newsletter. If you want to join the newsletter to keep up with what's going on at Unity, just sign up on we have a sign-up sheet. I think Kay is monitoring that for us, and you can check off to have your name added to get our newsletter. We also have a website. We have lots of gatherings and events. More and more as we go along, especially moving into the warmer weather. But first, announcements. We have lots of things going on we want to let you know about. One of those things is that we are pulling together a Sunday service team to start getting more of you up here reading the daily word, doing the platform lead. And next week, I'll be sending out an email, but if anybody here has an interest in being a part of that, please let me know, because we really want to get everyone involved. Then important, probably the most important announcement, in 2 weeks, annual meeting. It's our annual meeting. This is one of the most important meetings for members to attend, because this we talk about where we've been in the last year and where we're headed to this year. This is kind of our State of the Union, if you will. And it's really, really important to have members there giving us feedback and asking those important questions and becoming a part, because this is what we call a mission-centric church. That means the ministers don't run and decide everything. The ministers are here to spiritually lead, but we develop leaders. There are leaders out in our congregation, and we want to call you forth. And we are doing this as a collaborative, mission-driven service. Not church service, but service to the world. So please, if you're on Zoom, we're going to have Zoom available. So be sure to join that way if that's the only way you can. But we'd love to have you here live if that's possible. We'll also be voting on our new board members, which is very, very important. So it's February 26th, two Sundays away. Very important to note, everybody here, listen, 9 a.m. we're starting. This is a little change, but we only have the room for a certain amount of time. So we're starting at 9. We'll have a very short service, kind of set the stage for our business meeting. The business meeting will start at 9:30 and will end promptly at 10:30. Then, as a way of keeping things rolling, we would love to get any questions you have sent to us. So if you have any questions that you want your board and your leadership to respond to, email them to unityofcharlotte.admin@unityofcharlotte.org. unityofcharlotte.org, admin@unityofcharlotte.org. Send those questions in by next Sunday. That gives us a chance, the board and the leaders, to pull it together and gather any data we might need to gather in order to respond to it in the most effective way. So annual meeting, 2 weeks. We are also currently running our book study. We are doing the Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man in honor of Black History Month. We've had our first week and it was amazing. This is a way of opening up conversations that are uncomfortable for most of us to have in this country. And we're trying to get past that barrier because this is the way we can truly affect change. So this is the last call. If you want to join this week, you're welcome to, but after this week, we need to close it off because this is a safe, sacred space we're creating. And these people coming together in these groups are coming together in a way that we want to keep it feeling safe and a place where they can really speak out. The book study is held Sunday, today, after the session in person in the prayer chaplain room, or it is on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. via Zoom. You must register to let us know so we can send you the Zoom link and we can send you the materials. Also started this month our Coffee with the Ministers via Zoom. This happens every Friday. And you'll just use the Sunday service link off the website. That's the Zoom link to log in. We have really enjoyed that. I know Reverend Jim and I, it is a kind of a casual, open space to talk to your ministers, share what's going on in your life, not just with the ministers, but with each other. And then we always, of course, bring it into prayer. Pub Theology, some of you have already attended. That's once a month in person at Sir Edmund Halley's Park on Park Road. Then it started on, is the next one March 2nd. Next one is March 2nd at 5 p.m. So you are all welcome to join. This is, again, a place to join in a casual environment, have a beer, have a coffee, have a tea, and just engage in some free conversation about theology, whatever questions might come up. And then we have incredible ongoing offerings. These are groups that have been meeting, some of them for a very long time. They're very well established and you're welcome to join any of them. A Course in Miracles is on Thursday in the morning, Dialogue as Service on Wednesdays, Intention Meditation. Is that still going on? Yes, it is. It's first and third Tuesday. In Belmont, there is a study group that's been going on for quite a while. If you're in that area, please join them. That's Tuesdays at 7:30 in person, I believe. And then there's the men's group that meets twice a month on the second and fourth Wednesdays here at the church at 9:30. You are invited to join any of those groups. All right. Now I invite you to join me in a little prayer as we open up this service and move into that sacred space where we can hear and feel the presence of Spirit alive within us and alive in this sanctuary. For indeed, we join for this purpose of remembering our connection to God, to Spirit, to that universal principle of creation, which we are all a part of and all one in. And I invite you to join me in saying the unity prayer of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God the good, omnipotent. And now let's take a moment to offer up prayers to anyone that you know, including yourself. We're just going to take a moment, think about a person, a situation, whatever you want to hold and lift in prayer. And we're going to take a moment of silence where you can speak their name, speak the name of the situation, knowing that as it is spoken, it is offered up into the light of certainty that Spirit is working in and through them as we join. So I open up the space to let you speak that name. Chained room. Unity of Charlotte. And we close in the knowledge that indeed we have opened up and affirmed the power and presence of God in each and every person and situation. And so it is. Amen. And now for the daily word for February 12th, almost Valentine's Day. What a wonderful time. The word for today is compassion. Acts of loving compassion build my strength. Whether in my community or across the world, many people face hardships. As a member of the human family, I am inspired to undertake compassionate action and help however I can. Sometimes just a prayerful thought or simple blessing can make a powerful difference in someone's life. Other times, I may be able to take a more direct action. I may listen to someone deeply as they share the concerns of their heart, or I may volunteer to drive them somewhere or complete errands for them. Regardless of the form my compassionate action takes, I am motivated to be of sacred service, to bring the love and care of God into manifest form through my decisive action. And from Matthew 14:14, when he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. Affirmation for our new space. Because our new space is going to be filled with pure agape love. Ricky Byers is filling that space for us. That may be our affirmation today. I can't think of a better one. All right. Okay, they'll be back with us for a minute. You know what? We will move. Well, they need the slide for Jim. I'll just mention that we are looking at a space. We're very hopeful. We're waiting to hear back, but we do have a possibility open. And I think that's really important to know and to feed our love and energy into that. But what I would also share with you is what I have learned, and this is one of our universal principles, is you have to love where you are right now. In that you have to love where you are right now in order to open that space for the next place to come. So let's just take a moment to feel the gratitude for this amazing space we still have. I know many of you have been here for a while. So let's bring that love, that gratitude into an affirmation for our new meeting space. Please join me. We affirm that we have a new home for Unity of Charlotte that fulfills every need for space and use in order to support and share our unified purpose to love, grow, and serve. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. And now I'm going to call up Reverend Jim to lead us in our message.
Thank you, Reverend Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Who can tell me, and I don't know this, so who can tell me what was the language that Ricky was using at the beginning of her song? Was that Spanish? Yeah, okay, because corazón obviously is love, correct? No, it's heart. Okay, it's heart. Agape is our English pronunciation. Agape. It sounded like, I just love that. So we got a little diversity in language as well today. So I love that. I love that. So today we're going to talk about diversity within the Unity movement itself. And the idea that this is Black History Month here in the US. And how does that show up for us within the Unity movement? So how do the two cross? How do they blend? How do they come together? How do we talk about it? That's what we're going to explore a little bit today. And we're going to start off with the question, why do we honor Black History Month? And I was trying to answer that question for myself this week, and doing some research. And first of all, let me mention that on unity.org, there's a wonderful set of videos, a couple of videos, and the one, there's a couple of videos for Black History Month that was created last year, and it interviewed maybe a dozen of our Black ministers in the movement. And I invite you to watch that. It's just amazing. But as I went through those videos, I came away with some quotes that helped me answer that question, why do we honor Black History Month, even here on a Sunday? Even here on a Sunday. So each of these quotes is a Black Unity minister that was interviewed a while back. Reverend Kevin Ross, quote, "Black history is American history." Boom, just nice and simple. Reverend Cherie Taylor Jones tells us that we've all learned about the exceptional people of color in our history, like Martin Luther King Jr. or Harriet Tubman. Black History Month allows us to learn about the ordinary contributions to American culture. Reverend James Trapp says, take the time to listen to another person's story. Allow yourself the gift of moving from toleration to appreciation, and then maybe even love. Let any sense of separation fall away. We are one humanity. Reverend Jackie Hawkins, there is one power and one presence in the universe, and that power and presence is diverse in nature. Reverend Kathy Beasley, Black History Month sheds light on the present and points towards a real and viable future for our country. And then I'm going to round it out with one last quote. Reverend Sandra Campbell, opening our minds and hearts, many of us are just now learning the truth of our history. Pretty powerful stuff. The way I'd like us to address how these unity principles meld with this idea of diversity, and we spoke last week to the idea of diversity, inclusivity. In fact, you'll see I continued with the theme of the puzzle pieces representing each one of us, but coming together, not separate, but included together in community. And that's why these puzzle pieces are locked together, put together as that image of inclusivity. But how do we focus on that in terms of unity principles? So we have Black History Month, we have these quotes that we've just, unity principles, those things that we live by and through. Well, we have 5 unity principles, basic unity principles at least. Those aren't everything, but we do have 5 basic principles that we talk about here at Unity. And let's go through those quickly. This is not a lesson specifically about the 5 unity principles, but let's just run through them quickly. First of all, God is good and all there is. And we went through and we said out loud that first principle. God is good. God is that creative power within our universe. That's number 1. Number 2 is I am created in the image and likeness of God. I am one with the divine. We are one with God. And here's where we bring in this idea of diversity, inclusivity. We are one with God, and therefore we are one with each other. You see the logic behind that. We were all created in that image and likeness of God, which makes us one together as well. And we need to remember that. On a daily basis, we need to remember that. Number 3, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. In other words, I co-create in this world. Along with that creative power, along with the divine presence, I co-create. I create my world that I live in, this physical world that I live in. Through education, we are able, and here's the trick, since we do create, we create by those thoughts that we hold in mind, we can change those thoughts. And that's where we're getting to here. Even though it may seem, and part of our book study is that we're discovering that we in the US end up living in a society with some systemic racism. It may not feel good, and it's almost hard to say out loud. That's where we are. But with this co-creative power, this third unity principle, we can change our mind at any moment that we decide and recreate in the image that we would like to see. That's the power of that third principle. We can shed those beliefs that no longer support oneness or inclusivity. Again, those puzzle pieces. We can create a world that is for all people, that is prosperous and fulfilling for each and every person. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. I'm going to suggest that we're not yet there, and we're making progress towards that. But it takes those conversations, it takes that focus as well. Number 4, unity basic principle number 4, through prayer and meditation, I align myself with divine spirit. Do you have a prayer practice? Do you meditate on a regular basis? That's what number 4 tells us. Number 5, it is not enough to know these principles. We must what? We must practice them. We must do them. We must put feet on them, right? Can't just talk about them. We can't just sit in a class and learn about them. We actually have to do it. I must put principles of oneness into practice. I can study, I can read, I can attend classes. I can watch 1,000 TED Talks on the internet. Until I actually put them into practice within my life, they mean nothing. They are useless. Oh, and yet if I do nothing, I'm withholding, in essence, I'm withholding my good from the world. And that's not where we want to be. We want to open our hearts. And we've all felt that, and that place that we're at where we have that open heart and we're sharing with the world, and it's good. It feels right. If I learn, and here's my examples that I think about through my study as well. So bear with me as I move through some of these examples. And a lot of these some of these are Bible stories, actually. So if I learn about love, let's say from the book of Ruth, I'm called upon to serve others with love. That's the example that I'm learning. If I learn about compassion from the story of Jesus, who wept with his friends at the death of Lazarus, I'm called upon to serve others with compassion as well. It's not the story itself. It's not that we look at these things literally and regurgitate them. How does it show up in my life? And I want to live with compassion. If I learn about joy, maybe from that story of the prodigal son, that killing of the fatted calf, I am called upon to serve others with pure joy. If I learn about social action from the parable of the Good Samaritan, I'm called upon to serve others with justice. If I learn about nonviolent change, like we are here and now today, during this Black History Month, I am called upon to serve others with equality as I practice diversity and inclusivity in my daily life. We put legs on it. We put feet on it. We do. That is that fifth principle. So everything we study and ponder, everything that we debate as we come together and talk about is to be put into action ultimately. It's not enough to know these principles. I must put them into action. Going back to Reverend Kathy Beasley, who I quoted earlier, she simply says, "We are living in fifth principle times." That's how she put it. It's not enough to just know it and hold it within. We must do it. We must practice it. And I would even argue, so those are the five, and I'm going to diverge a little bit here. I talk a lot about the gospel according to Reverend Jim. This is part of my diversion a little bit. I would even argue that it is a time to go a little bit further than the fifth principle. So the fifth principle, again, to do it, it's not enough just to study it, but to do it. Going beyond the fifth principle is one in which our service actually seeks to reverse the things that have gone on before, to reverse the errors of the past, errors that we may have inadvertently turned a blind eye to in the past, errors that may be seen as privilege. And this is not to abandon our inner work. So I'm not suggesting that we do not do our own inner work that we've always been taught within the New Thought movement, within the Unity movement. I'm just saying that not only do we do, but we have to correct the mistakes of the past as well, and then move in that new direction that serves us well. Ralph Waldo Emerson, when speaking to this idea of doing as well, of moving out with our good out into the community, he's quoted as saying, and people would ask him this question, what is the purpose of life? And he comes back with, he says, the purpose of life is not to be happy, because that's what he was getting. Well, my purpose is simply to be happy, right? To move through life with joy. And he thought about it and he came back with this quote, no, the purpose of life is not simply to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and to have it make some difference to others that you have lived. To have it make a difference that you are here. Tying it in with the gospel of Reverend Jim, to move forward and correcting those and then moving forward in the right direction. To make it a difference that you are here. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So again, getting back, February is Black History Month. I encourage you to check out those videos on unity.org. The title of that is How Unity Teachings Support Racial Equality. Again, because I know you guys on Zoom are writing this down, how Unity teachings support racial equality. So let's talk about, I'd like to talk about the first two Black Unity ministers who were ever ordained in the Unity movement. I'd like to honor them. I'd like to talk about them, how they served their communities, how they served the Unity movement as well. So I did a little research on this, how they served, how they practiced this fifth principle of doing out into the world. The first name that I have is Reverend Helen Mountain. I'm going to say, I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. I'm going to call her Reverend Helen. Reverend Helen is one of the first two African Americans ordained in the Unity movement. She started the Unity Correspondence School. So at one time it was a correspondence school. It was through the mail that you actually studied and became a minister and were ordained. But she started that Unity Correspondence School with a third grade education in the 1930s. And she said many times from the pulpit when she was teaching that the greatest event of her life was receiving a vision to serve the world as a spiritual leader. And when she says she received a vision, it was a vision. She talked about it from the pulpit. She became a licensed Unity teacher, and she talked about that vision as one where there was a small house that morphed into a large temple. That was her vision. She started out becoming a licensed Unity teacher. She bought a house. This is in Los Angeles. She bought a house in Los Angeles and started what she called Christ Unity Church in 1946. And that may have been that small house from her vision. 1952, Reverend Helen became one of the first two African Americans ordained at Unity Village of a seminary class of 12 ministers. I didn't know if I wanted to share this or not, and I am. I'm going to take a chance. I didn't know if I wanted to share this or not. In 1952, when these two women, because we're going to talk about Reverend Mabel as well, they were allowed to study on campus. Kansas City, 1952, the Village. They were allowed to come to classes during the day, but they were not allowed to live on campus. Segregation was still strong in Kansas City. The Unity movement had not changed policies yet. And even though they were ordained in 1952, they were not allowed to live on campus like all the other students. Of course, that has changed since then. The Unity movement has apologized for that. And you can hear that apology, I believe, on unity.org as well. And the statement of inclusivity and the statement of diversity as well. In the 1950s, Christ Unity Church, this is Reverend Helen's church in Los Angeles, became a satellite church of the larger organization in the Los Angeles area, which was known as Unity Health Life Center of Los Angeles. That's a mouthful. Could that have been the large temple that she envisioned? She started in that large church and joined that larger Unity Health Life Center in Los Angeles. She was a minister for 20 years when she made her transition in 1972. The second minister I'd like to focus on, Reverend Mabel Butts. Reverend Mabel was also ordained in that same class of 1952. She served at Unity Center of Christianity in Atlanta, Georgia. She was born in, does anyone want to guess when this woman was born? Because it shocked me. Anybody know? 1888. 1888. This woman was around for a while. 1888, she was ordained in 1952. She had 1 year of high school under her belt when she started the seminary. Reverend Mabel made her transition in 1982 at the age of 94 after serving her community in Atlanta, Georgia for 30 years. Woo! 30 years. Reverends Helen and Mabel, we honor that history of these two Black ministers from our Unity past. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Know that I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I see the divine in each and every one of you. Namaste. Now's the time we move into our meditation. So I encourage you to wiggle around, to move around, to find a spot where you're comfortable. That was one of the first things I learned in a formal meditation practice in the Buddhist tradition. is even the Buddhist masters spend that first minute just moving around, getting in that right spot. So finding that for yourself, closing your eyes if that feels comfortable, feet on the floor, grounding yourself to this earth, and then finding your breath, moving from your head into your heart. Noticing that breath as that movement within your body, that flow. You may notice it as that inhale and that exhale. As you focus again and again, noticing that with each exhale, your physical body relaxes just a little bit more as you go a little bit deeper into this time. And with each breath, as I use those I statements, I encourage you to make them your own, to bring those I statements in as if you were saying them yourself. With each breath, I focus on the spiritual quality of compassion. My consciousness becomes one of anticipation, an expectation of spiritual growth, of realization. I am also compassionate with myself, and I feel that in that heart space. I know with all my being that my reality is spiritual. And my reality is based on that fifth unity principle of doing, of spreading that compassion throughout the universe. This is my reality. Those simple acts within my life of turning within, of opening up, of practicing, make all the difference in the world. I take another breath. With that exhale, I move a little deeper, knowing that Divine Spirit is here with me now. In fact, knowing a little bit deeper that there is never a time or place that I am separated from that divine presence. In fact, there is never a time when I am separated from my fellow human, for we are all one. I allow this to expand within my heart as we take a moment, as we take a minute or two and move into silence. And as we begin to come out of this silence, maybe with a deep sigh, we claim that idea of compassion and of doing what is right within our lives as our birthright. We open our eyes, we become aware of this room, and we take this with us throughout the days ahead, throughout the week ahead. And we know that it is so. Namaste. And we have a musical selection coming up. This, again, Ricky, am I pronouncing it right? Ricky Byers? Beckwith.
Once again, Ricky Byers Beckwith, thank you. And now we move into the offering part of our service because we understand the law of circulation. As we give, so we receive. And it is Unity of Charlotte's here because of your generous giving. Yeah. So what we're going to do today, to our faithful and consistent ushers, thank you. Couldn't find that word. We're going to say the offertory blessing, do the collections, and then I'll have you come forward and I'll do a quick blessing on those. So let's give them just a minute to put up that offertory blessing. But as we're preparing, there it is, a prosperity blessing. Please join me in saying together, joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.